What are some tips and advice that have greatly helped you?
Okay, for me personally is knowing your equipment, like having your own equipment and then knowing it well has
Yes.
always helped me. I have pretty bad anxiety too, so like just knowing that I have all the stuff that I need makes me feel a lot better, and like it greatly helps when it's stuff that you've had and you've tested.
Hmm.
Um so yeah, I would say if you're going to go do a big thing, like make sure you have stuff that get it in early in advance if you need to borrow it, and then test it out and make sure you feel comfortable with it.
Any
Um,
equipment in particular you can reference?
um, well, like I guess when it comes to like clothing, just like knowing
Hmm.
your layers, like a layering, like knowing what layers are
Yes,
and
yes.
how many you personally always need in what, you know, temperatures and stuff like that. Like I love having, I always have my base layer that I this Patagonia base layer that I just
Hmm.
love. And like having like my puffer always, even just in case. I have the Patagonia Nano Puff, and it has synthetic down, so even if it gets wet, it'll still keep me warm. And I got that one for the Narrows in Zion. And then
Hmm.
it's just been a great jacket just in general. Like I brought it to Iceland because in Iceland you get wet, um, but then it would still keep me warm. So like, having, and this stuff is expensive. And I remember like when I was getting into like hiking on my own after college, like without my dad's kind of assistance, I wanted to kind of cheap out on stuff, and I really needed to because I was like obviously not making much money, but like all that stuff I ended up throwing away or whatever because it just doesn't serve you. Like if there's one place to invest money into, it is like your gear.
So
Because
true.
yeah, like you don't need to invest in a nice top for going out. Like you can get something cheap, no one's gonna care, and it's not gonna like affect your night going out. But if you're on a freaking mountain and you need warmth, but
Yes.
have this like heavy cotton jacket and you get wet, like you're fucked, right? Like, so, yeah.
I'm really glad you
Um,
brought up that
uh-huh.
tip because I don't think that has been brought up yet on the podcast, just the layering system. Because even myself, I had to get familiar with the terminology, right? Like, I think it goes like this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Hmm.
You always want a base layer,
Yeah.
something that's moisture wicking,
Yeah.
dry fit, not cotton,
Yeah.
and then a down jacket. And a down jacket is the jacket that is keeps you warm. It has like the goose feathers, right?
Yeah.
So it's puffy
Yeah. And it insulates you, and it's light, which
and
is
it's light.
great. Yeah.
Usually collapsible and packable. Like you can scrunch it up, and it's really easy to throw in your bag and really transportable.
Yeah.
And then the shell or the rain jacket that you
Yes.
put over the so it's base layer
Hmm.
and first it's the base layer, then it's the down jacket, then it's the outer shell or the rain jacket, right?
Yeah,
That's how it
the
works.
hard shell. Yeah.
Okay.
And what I like about that system is like because my down jacket is kind of like I guess water resistant, or even if you get it wet,
Hmm.
I only ever wear the base and then the down. And then sometimes if it's too hot, I'll take off the down and I'll just put the shell. So I'll have the shell on the base, and I can generate enough heat to like stay cozy inside of that. But then the shell protects from like the wind or rain, whereas if you just had the base layer on, you would be like, if the wind hits you, you'd get kind of cold. So yeah, it's
Oh, that
like,
was a great tip. I'm gonna
what?
do
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I don't know if you noticed on Baldy, at a certain point, I took off my down and I was just wearing my shell, and then that's all I needed on the way down, as long as I was like in motion. Um, yeah, and so that was nice.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I like that because the down can get really warm real quick.
Yeah, for sure. The down is more meant for like when you're not doing as much activity, or maybe you're at the summit just hanging out, like that sort of thing. So yeah. And there's all different layers in between. Like there's soft shells because like with a lot of the hard shells, like it's not as breathable. So that can get you sweaty if you're like too active in a hard shell. Yeah, there's a ton of shit. I'm not,
No, this is
I
really
won't
good
bore your
stuff.
listeners with it, but yeah.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
great that you're talking about this because we haven't actually talked about layering systems and how you can combine it and the things to bring. Like I think it's essential to bring all three of those: the base layer, the down jacket, and then the outer shell. And I like how you, if it gets too warm, obviously you're always wearing your base layer, but then take off your down jacket and put on the rain jacket or the outer
Yeah,
shell because it's lighter than the
totally.
down.
Yeah, and so you can still build heat in that, but without like overheating, because you don't want to overheat because you'll get all sweaty and then
Yes.
that's bad. Yeah. So so I feel like, yeah, knowing your equipment is always excellent. And yeah, knowing your clothing system is super excellent for sure. So yeah. What other tips would
Yeah, if you have like
be
a one more or two
okay?
more, like whatever comes to your mind. But I'm
Um
really glad that we talked about layers and knowing your equipment. That was great stuff right there.
Yeah, for sure. Or yeah, or like even like, when you have sticks, like if you're using someone else's sticks, which I actually found is like always so hard. You're like, wait, how do I pull this up? Or like, how do I lock it? Like, like you don't want to be doing that on the trail. Or like some sticks like need like a little Allen wrench to lock them. And so if you don't
Yes.
have one of those, you're like, fucked. You're like, cool, great, I brought sticks. Now I can't even use it. Great.
You're talking about hiking poles, right?
Yeah. The hiking poles. So, yeah, just knowing your equipment, knowing how it functions. You could do a little test hike and just make sure everything's Gucci.
Patagucci.
Yeah, Patagucci. I do love me some Patagucci.
I feel like everyone says Patagucci now.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's such a simple status. But their stuff is really good. And I really like the environmental aspect of their brand. So
Hmm.
it's worth it to me. But yeah, another tip is like always bring like a lunch you really look forward to. Because when I'm like, oh my god, why am I here? That always happens at least once on a big hike. It's like, why am I here? Then you think about lunch and you're like, oh man, I'm so excited to eat that sandwich. Because this is one thing. So when I was growing up and my crazy dad would just drag me on stuff, he was so mountain man like that he was like all about efficiency and like the packing super light, and also just like, I don't know, he was just like super like uh survival, right? And so we would get to the end of this like insane long hike, and he would just pull out a Cliff Bar and be like, here, have half a Cliff Bar. And like
No,
at the
no, you need
time
more than that Cliff Bar.
when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, this tastes so good, like I'm so down. But now I'm just like, what? First of all, I hate Cliff Bars. Second of all, like, yo, that is not what I'm trying to eat after, climbing to the top of Mount Baldy. Like, I want to, to me personally, like having something to look forward to at the end for lunch is great. And then also I feel like having a true meal, like a sandwich or something, actually will help replenish you for the rest of the hike rather than just having like an energy bar. I feel like I'd perform better after eating a sandwich or whatever. I mean, if you're doing something way more technical, like probably shouldn't lug up a sandwich and some potato salad, but I think a big day hike, you can still pack a sandwich and your pack won't be that heavy. So yeah.
So, what are you packing that you're looking forward to so much? Like, is it a specific kind of
Ooh, like
sandwich?
I love having a banh mi. Oh,
Oh my God, that's
yeah.
definitely such a standard summit meal for myself, and I'm glad that you like it also.
Yeah, no, banh mi, so bomb at the summit. Like, fuck yeah.
What's a banh mi?
Uh-huh.
I know a lot of people don't know what a banh mi is
Oh,
sometimes.
okay. So a banh mi is like this Vietnamese sandwich, and it usually has like ham and like pate, which I guess is, I actually don't know what it is, but it's like, I think like some bone marrow and stuff. And yeah, and then they put like these nice like marinated pickles and like other veggies in there. Oh, and jalapenos. Oh, so
Yes.
good. Oh, and it's always on this like nice crispy baguette, because Vietnamese have a lot of French influence from when they were a French colony. So yeah, it's so bomb and so great at the summit. Yeah, so I would recommend as one of my tips packing a banh mi for lunch.